If I had only 21 days to fix a sales team, I'm not gonna spend a single day on training. I'm not gonna be sitting in meetings talking about what needs to change. I'm gonna be on the phones closing deals that the sales team gave up on before I change a single thing about how they operate. And here's the very specific reason for that. Most people get this completely backwards. They'll walk into a broken sales team and they'll start with culture and process and training, and 21 days later, they've got a bunch of great ideas, but zero revenue, zero results. What I'm gonna walk you through today is the exact sequence I use to turn around every sales team that we work with, and the sequence is everything. Because if you get the order wrong, none of the individual tactics matter. So the very first thing I'm gonna do when I walk into a broken sales team is I'm not gonna be sitting down with the reps and talking to them about their feelings. I'm not gonna be reviewing their pipeline. I'm gonna be pulling every deal that was marked closed, lost in the last 30 days, maybe even 45 or 60 days. And I'm gonna be listening to all of those call recordings. That's the quickest, easiest way to figure out where the low-hanging fruit is. So look, understand this. Now, just because a salesperson marked a deal closed, lost, does not mean that the deal is actually dead. It just means that the salesperson gave up on it. The majority of deals that you lose, you understand you're not gonna be losing them to a competitor. You lose them to indecision. The prospect just doesn't wanna deal with you anymore. Because the reality is your salesperson isn't offering any real true reason for the prospect to stay engaged. So they're just simply gonna turn around and say, hey, look, I've decided to go in a different direction just to get rid of the salesperson. So when you pull all those deals from the last 30, 60 days, because they're all still fresh, I'm gonna turn around and start with the highest order, highest value ones and force rank them and work backwards. Look, when you start listening to recordings, you're pulling all these proposals. What you're looking for is where the mismatch between what the prospect actually needed versus what was proposed. Because what I'm telling you is 9 times out of 10, you can find out one of two things. Either we did not directly uncover the actual issue that the prospect cared about, and we were off on some wild goose chase, or maybe we did actually uncover it, but we did not intentionally connect the dots for the prospect on how our solution actually solves their real true problem. Now, just because we think we communicated it does not mean that the prospect actually understood it or maybe even believed it. So once you figure that out, where that gap was, you're gonna re-engage the prospect and say, hey, look, send them an email and say, hey, look, I've got an idea about XYZ issue. They're gonna be surprised because that's not what was being discussed when the proposal went over. And if you're right about what the actual issue is, those deals magically start to come back and they're willing to talk to you. Now, look, there's a very specific reason why I start by closing deals instead of walking in immediately and trying to fix the sales team. Because it's not just about the money. But I mean, don't get me wrong, sales does cure all, and that's the best way to fix any issue is first and foremost, can I start bringing in revenue through the door? Can I get cash? Especially on the deals that the salespeople themselves marked as closed. They're gonna pay attention. Not only are you solving the actual business problem, which is money, but you're actually doing it in a way in which it's earning the salespeople's respect, because they're gonna turn around and be like, oh shit, he cleaned up my deal. Now, when you go in to tell them anything, one of two things are gonna happen. Either they're gonna start listening because they're like, oh shit, man, this person actually knows what they're doing. Or if they sit there and try and check you, because a lot of salespeople are very egotistical and you kind of want them to be, but you can then turn around and say to them, hey, look, you remember that deal you had back there that you marked as closed lost? I had to go back in there and clean it up for you. And then they've got nothing to say to that. But here's what else happens at the same time. While you're salvaging these deals and bringing money in, those call audits, they're starting to tell you what's actually wrong with the sales team from a tactical standpoint. Why aren't these conversations where they need to be? Why are the deal cycles so long? Why isn't the revenue where it needs to be? Why is the average deal value where it is and where it should be? It starts to illuminate all of those points, which is why this has to come first. Okay, look, now that you got the revenue coming in and you're starting to see those tactical issues, that's great and all, but those are tactical point solutions. If you want to start making systemic changes, you have to look at the culture, because here's the one thing that's very true about sales. It's a very self-correcting system. If you do the right things, you start making money. You do the wrong things, you don't make any money. It doesn't work the opposite. You can't make a bunch of mistakes and not make any money. And on the flip side, you can't do all the right things and be making no money. The reality is the proof is in the pudding. Did you make any money? Did you not? Did you make the sale? Did you not? You can't get a woman partially pregnant. So if your salespeople are not making money and they're not correcting themselves and they're not fixing what they're doing wrong, that's not a skills problem. That's a culture problem. Because the environment there is telling them that their current standard is acceptable. So what you do is simply raise the standard on everything, and you do it drastically, because we don't have time for that gradual change. You start changing the environmental factors. Where are they sitting? What are they doing? If they're working remote, bring them into the office. I find it wildly unacceptable to let a sales team work remote. You're not going to pump the results that you need out of your team if they're doing push-ups in their basement. It just doesn't work that way, and that's a bad idea. And look, I can give you 1,000 different reasons. No, I get it. Look, not everyone has the option to remove remote work, but you absolutely can control how much they're working, what levels of activity are expected, and what the overall level of professionalism looks like. Work hours, how they dress, how they communicate, what expectations are you going to put on them? You significantly increase the standard across the board, and the reason these changes need to be drastic is because if you only got 21 days, it's really got to be implemented. All these changes really have to be implemented within the first day or two, first 48 hours. Over the next 19 days, we can actually start to see some results. Because if these changes are subtle, no one's going to notice. But if the changes are drastic, everyone's going to take note right away, and that's what starts moving the culture. Now that you've got the revenue coming in, you've earned credibility from the team, you've raised standards completely across the board, now you need the piece that's gonna make all of this stick. You need an accountability system, but not the kind that most people think about. I'm not talking about dashboards and scorecards. I mean, those are nice and all, but I'm talking about empowering the salespeople to self-govern. Because if you're chasing them around and babysitting their activity, that's not accountability, that's supervision. It's babysitting. So I do this in a very simple way. The way I do this is morning stand-ups and midday check-ins. Every single day, the entire team gets together and goes one by one through 3 things: wins, stucks, focuses. First, here are the things I did yesterday that I consider win. And they have to be very specific and tactical. I booked this many meetings. I closed these number of deals. I brought in this much revenue. I moved this deal forward. Okay, not I had a bunch of good meetings and great conversations and built relations, because what the fuck does that even mean? Second, here are my stucks. Here's where I was finding it difficult. But it doesn't just stop with, oh, here's something I'm struggling with, and okay, here's sales leader, fix it for me. No. Like that creates no accountability. What are you doing yourself to fix that stuck? What are you actually doing, and how are you actually taking responsibility for it on your own? Because if they just come to me and dump all their problems on me, you're creating an environment and enabling an environment of entitlement, and they're going to weaponize that incompetence. Now, if they say, here's what I'm going to try, what do you think? And that's when you can start workshopping it together. But the default is that they're taking ownership of their problem on their own first. And the third thing is very simple: focus. Here's my commitment for the day. Here's how I'm going to prioritize it. Here's what I'm going to accomplish today. Then from there, we'll go to the midday check-in. The expectation is they come and find me on their own, under their own accord, not the other way around. They come to you and say, hey, here's my focus. Here's my progress that I've made so far during the day. Here's what I need a little bit of help with. Here's what I'm trying. What are your thoughts? Now you're empowering them to be responsible adults. And if they don't check in, that's on them. And then you sit them down and have a conversation about why they feel like they didn't need to check in with you, why they feel like they don't have to complete the feedback loop. The reason this works is because it forces people to show their hand. The ones who want to buy in and step up immediately versus the ones who were hiding in the bushes the entire time, blaming everything on everyone else, right? They can't hide anymore. That instantly starts changing the culture, because now everybody knows what the standard is. Everybody knows what they're being held to by their own behavior, not someone policing them. If what I just walked you through made you realize that the issues with your sales team probably goes much deeper than the people on it, that's exactly what my company, Rose Garden, that's what we fix. We're in a sales assessment where we'll come in, diagnose exactly what's broken, and build you a clear path forward so you're not guessing anymore. If you're running an agency doing 7 figures or more, and you know the problems go deeper than the people, the link is in the description. Book a call and let's figure out what's actually going on. And hey, I'd be curious to hear from you. If you only had 21 days to fix your sales team, what's the first thing you'd change? Drop it in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one.